It's time to chill out and get ready for a mediocre Q&A live stream. If you're old enough, grab yourself your favorite adult beverage, and if you're not, stick with apple juice. Put your feet up and relax. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. And now let's cue up the intro music. Hello, how are you guys doing this evening? Hopefully you guys are doing well. I am hanging in there. I said in the chat a few minutes ago that summer in Southern California decided to stay another week because we just got like another heat wave. It's funny because we get these cool nights as we're going into the fall. So, you know, it drops down to like 60, 55 degrees or something like that at night or something. But today it was like 103, 104. It's just like, ugh. I'm ready for this to be over. But don't get me wrong, like I appreciate the work and I'm a little worried with going into a COVID fall, you know, like what that's going to be because we already did a COVID spring and the beginning of a COVID summer, but I'm hoping things get better, you know. But yeah, hopefully you guys are hanging in there and hopefully the weather's half-assed decent where you're at. As usual, got a bunch of stuff I want to cover and then yeah, we'll get into answering questions and stuff. So my name is Chris. I'm an HVACR service tech here in Southern California, and I do these live streams to just kind of answer questions, consolidate stuff as an addendum basically to my videos. So I've got like a whole list of stuff that I kind of took from comments and emails and different things like that. And then, of course, I want to get to your guys' questions in the chat. So do me a favor. If you guys do have questions, put them in caps lock, okay? And if I don't answer it right away, just keep posting them. It's okay. Until myself or a moderator tells you to stop, just keep posting them and I'll try to get to them. Okay. If I do miss your question, do me a favor and send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com and I'll try to get to it. All right. Let me see what's going on. Shelby Dyson, thank you so much for that super chat. That is awesome. And actually, let's start this off because I don't think I do a good enough job showing my appreciation for supporters, okay? There's several different ways to support the channel. Super chats, you can become a YouTube channel member, you can support me on Patreon, you can buy merch, I'm sure there's other ways too that I'm not thinking of, Streamlabs or something. But, you know, I'm sorry that I don't acknowledge enough, especially like the Patreon supporters and stuff like that. I know that other channels, like that's their style to kind of do something for each. And I definitely need to get better at that. Okay. And I apologize, but thank you guys so very much for the support. It is not needed. I'm going to continue to do these videos no matter what, but you know, those that have done it, again, thank you so very much. Okay. Yeah. So let's get on with it. I had 2 videos this past week. Connor, thank you very much for that super chat, bud. The 2 videos that I had was the AC keeps tripping the breaker. Okay, and the compressor sounds like it has rocks in it. Both of them drew up a bunch of questions, and I'm going to get into those. They were both older videos that I had shot a while back. I've been kind of going through footage and editing stuff down. Some of these videos were a little bit longer, and they took longer to edit and different things like that, so they take a few more minutes. But let me see. Okay, so here's a question. I'm going to get on this one right now. How do I know what operating system the HVAC uses, like Linux units and Manitowoc? As far as the operating systems, I have no idea. Is you're talking about the actual OS in their circuitry, right? I do not know what their operating systems are. Linux has a proprietary operating system called Prodigy, and then Manitowoc has a proprietary operating system called Indigo. What it is, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if it's based on Linux. A lot of softwares are based off of Linux, but I don't know for sure. So let me see what else we got in here that I'm missing. How do I know what circuit is what on a 15 to 20 ton system when changing out the filter dryer? So yeah, that can be difficult sometimes. Today I was working with some of my other techs. We were all working together on some 15 ton split systems. And when it comes to knowing which system is which, and then let alone finding the right condensing unit, right? These are 15-ton split systems where the condensing unit is about 100 feet on the roof, air handlers are downstairs. And then to top it off and make it even more confusing, the original installers, when they did these installs in 2014, they flip-flopped the circuits. So what's labeled as circuit 1 at the condensing unit on the roof is actually circuit 2 down at the evaporator, and what's labeled as circuit 2 up on the roof is actually circuit 1 downstairs. So it makes it even more confusing. There's a couple different ways you can go about it. On these particular split systems that I have, one method that we did today was we energized one circuit and then turned off the indoor blower motor. Okay. And we watched which circuit frosted up. So in that situation, compressor 2 on the roof was running, but the first stage of the evaporator, the bottom half of the evaporator, was frosting up. So that's how we figure out which one is which. You definitely want to be very careful about that kind of stuff. Okay, so I would suggest doing something like that if you have to, de-energizing the system, then energizing it somehow manually, and then, verifying. Definitely take your time, because you do not want to try to cut open a system and then find out that you're on the wrong one. I don't know if I've ever done that, but I've almost done it, I think. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever accidentally cut into the wrong system, but I'm definitely paranoid about that kind of stuff, so I take extra precautions to try to make sure that I don't mess that up. Let me see what else we got here. Yeah, Jack Selby, I'm sorry. I'm still working on the other countries, like the UK and Australia. I'm honestly haven't had an opportunity to really dig into that. I figured out how to do the Canada, and I figured out how to do some of the U.S. territories such as Guam recently, but I have not been able to figure out the UK shipping. So I'm going to get on that, and I will hopefully figure it out sometime soon, whatever that means. Let me see what else we got in here. Let me see. With brazing line set components, do I prefer couplers or swaging? Mark Morales, thank you so very much for that super chat, bud. I really, really appreciate it. So I prefer swaging if at all possible, but you got to be careful when you're using swaging tools. So I personally use the spin swage that you put on the end of a cordless drill, and you swage out the pipe. But you got to be careful when you're using that tool, because if you don't have the drill or the screw gun or whatever you're using perfectly straight, then the swage will be crooked. And then there's a lot more filler you have to do. So what I've been noticing, especially with the spin swage, is that it's not a tight fitting. Unlike if you had a hydraulic swage, which I've been very curious about buying, like a hydraulic swage. I think Hvac makes one, and I think Hillmore makes one, and they both are pretty popular. I kind of want to pick one up because I'm sick of the uneven or not tight joints, basically, when you go to do a swage. So Frank, thank you so very much for that super sticker. I really appreciate these support you guys are giving. This is awesome, guys. You guys are killing it. Thank you so very much. So yeah, I'd like to pick up one of the hydraulic swaging tools just to see if I can get a much tighter fitting. If you're using an actual coupling, then of course it's going to be a super tight fit, and you're going to have to use a lot less brazing rod or filler material, to braze that joint shut. So yeah. All right. Let's see what else we got in here. There was a question right here. Let's see. Have I fixed any heat and air conditioning that is 20 to 50 tons? No. So I don't work on any really big commercial stuff. I typically work on light commercial refrigeration and air conditioning. Brandon Ali, dude, thank you so very much for that super chat. These super chats that are coming in, guys, you guys are awesome. Thank you so very much. Okay, again, not needed, but much appreciated. Okay, wow, you guys, thank you. You're blowing me. Yeah. Anyways, all right. So typically I work on light commercial refrigeration and air conditioning. So I don't work on anything, I'd say, bigger than 35 tons as far as air conditioning goes. And then as far as the refrigeration equipment, I don't think I work on anything bigger than 5 horsepower. Everything's smaller. So don't do any of the big giant stuff. It's not that I can't, but it's one of those things that we're good at what we do, and stepping out of our comfort zone adds a lot of complexity to things. So we're good working in the restaurant stuff on the smaller commercial setting. So that's kind of what we stick to. So Brandon Ali, thank you so very much for that super chat, man. All right, let's see. The live repairs. So yeah, I definitely want to try to do the live repairs a little bit more. It's very difficult though, as far as the live repairs go, but I'm still trying to figure out like a better mic setup and different things like that, because the few live repairs I've done, I think one I did in my van and I was using my Bluetooth and I just didn't like it. And then I did the live repair that I did was a Bluetooth one too, and I just didn't like the audio. And I know that a lot of people said they were cool with the audio, but guys, I can't deal with it. Like, I can't know that there's horrible audio out there. It just drives me nuts. And I mean, I know I'm not perfect with this setup, but at least it's decent and you've got bass and it sounds good. So I recently went to a wired mic on my phone the other night, and when I called in to my buddy Rick with HVACR Survival, he does live streams Sunday evenings. Go check out the HVACR Survival YouTube channel. I don't know if any of the mods can put Rick's channel so you guys can go subscribe to it, but I went on Rick's show the other night and I was using a plug-in like the AKC headphones that come with the Samsung phones, and I was actually very impressed with the audio for being a remote microphone. But the problem with that is that I'm restricted to, like, I can't put my phone on a tripod because I've only got a 4-foot, wire connecting the headphones to the mic. So anyways, but I'll figure that out and I'll try to do more live streams. That'd be kind of cool. So let's see. Rion said, if I only had skills to do giant industrial stuff, that would be so cool to see a giant industrial unit, since you love industrial stuff. So Rion, what I would suggest you do is, I don't know if any of the mods can do this quick enough or not, but I would suggest that you go subscribe to Ulysses Palacios' YouTube channel. Forgive me if I butchered your name, Ulysses. But go subscribe to Ulysses Palacios' YouTube channel. He does the heavy industrial stuff and he shows some ammonia stuff. He's been doing videos more often. He actually is doing a podcast with my buddy, Ruben Macias, Rookie Refrigeration. They're doing a podcast together with a couple other guys, and I believe it's called the HVACR podcast. Forgive me if I'm butchering that. But any of you guys that are interested, if you can't find that podcast, send me an email and I'll send you guys links to all that stuff. But really cool podcast. But definitely go subscribe to Ruben and Ulysses' YouTube channels. So, all right. I'm going to, again, guys, these super chats that are coming in. Thank you so very much. Let's see. Oh, yeah, cool. There's Rick, HVACR. All right. Yeah, the lav mics that are wireless, I might do that. Again, there's some limitations to it, but I have like the Rode wireless Go mics and stuff. So maybe I'll do some experimenting with those and see how the audio sounds, and then we can do some more live stuff. So, all right, I'm going to get to my list of things to talk about. Feel free to put questions in caps lock in the chat, like I said before. And I've been getting a ton of service calls on the weekends, guys. It's been really like wearing me down, actually. My wife has been cool with it. My kids have been cool with it, but I've just been getting worn out. So currently right now, I'm a guy short. I have a guy out on sick leave. He'll be back hopefully soon. But on top of that, so that's putting me into a 4-week rotation. So I'm 4 weeks on call, 1 week off. And I just swear every weekend, it's just boom, 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 Sunday evening service calls. And it just wears you down. But I try to be as careful with the customer as possible. Even though I'm frustrated, even though it wears me down, even though I'm exhausted, I want to be upset sometimes with the customer, especially when you get that service call and they say, yeah, it wasn't working very well last night. But I thought maybe it was in defrost. And then I came in this morning and it was still a little funky, but I thought maybe if I shut the door, it'd be cool. And then they call me at 5 o'clock that evening. So it's been down for a day and a half, and then it's like a dire emergency. And it's like, that seriously is like getting stabbed in the stomach. You're like, oh man, come on, for real? Like you can't wait a couple more hours. But again, the way that I look at it is, I try to convince myself, but guys, don't get me wrong. I still get frustrated, but I try to convince myself that, I'm thankful that I have the work, because there's some people that are unemployed right now, not really in HVAC unless you just, whatever. But, there's a lot of people less fortunate than us. So I got to be thankful for the work that I'm given to, and I try to show that to the customers as much as possible. Even when I'm frustrated, I try to let them know, thank you guys so very much. I really appreciate this, and at the same time, I'm also really busy during the week. So like, for instance, last night I got a service call. Actually, yesterday morning I got a service call, and it was on a walk-in freezer. And I went out there, and it was one of those frustrating service calls. The customer, an email went through the facilities department. Facilities department emailed me around 9:30 in the morning. They said, walk-in freezer down. But in the email chain that the facilities director just forwarded to me, I saw that it was down the previous day. It was a walk-in freezer. So I'm already irritated because it was down the previous day and they're just calling me the Sunday morning. It was just like, come on, guys. But so I went out there, and to add insult to injury, the walk-in freezer was working. And the customer said, oh, it tripped the breaker yesterday and I reset it and it's been running fine since. And it's like, inside I'm just going crazy. And it's like, come on, if it was working, then why wouldn't you let me wait until Monday? Okay. But I bit my tongue. I looked into it. I figured, I'm here. I'm going to spend some time. We have a 2-hour minimum on overtime. So I'm here anyways. I'm going to just go ahead and, give them a little bit of my time. So I'm looking at everything, and I found a few things wrong, found some loose wires, found a twist timer that's on, it's like a pump down timer that the cooks have. So that way when they go in and out of the freezer, they can twist it. The twist timer was full of ice. So, and it's high voltage going into that twist timer. So I never found like something that jumped out and said, hey, this is the reason why the breaker tripped, but I did find some issues, so I still gave the customer a little peace of mind, still spent some time making sure everything was good. But then right after that call, I get another service call, and it's for ice machines down. It's like, okay. So I go over to this call, and I find out, I get up on the roof and the condenser fan motors aren't working, and I open up the rack, and for those that watch my videos on a regular, it's one of those racks that has lamp cord in it. And I was just like frustrated. Okay. So I open it up and I know there's got to be a short. I would assume that there's a short in the lamp cord, but I don't know because I reset the breaker and all the condenser fan motors start up and everything's running. Okay. And now this is a common rack that has 2 ice machine condensers with 2 fan motors, and then it has 2 fan motors for the rest of the rack, but all the wiring's all jacked up. So in that situation, I'm busy during the week and I've got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of construction jobs and different things. And to be honest with you, I could have just gotten the rack going. I reset the breaker. It was running. I probably could have just let it be and then gone back this morning when it wasn't on overtime. But it's to the point that I can't waste the time anymore. I can't deal with these return visits when I'm busy, you know? So that customer got 7 hours of overtime for me to rewire that entire rack yesterday. And I really didn't give them a choice. Now, I know that they're going to be okay with it because I probably still fell within my not to exceed value. I think my not to exceed value is like 1,500, and I was under that for my time involved. But still, you know, I could have waited and put them off, and you know, and it would have probably operated. But it was one of those things that's like, you know what, I just got to get it done, you know. And I kind of wanted to cover like time management with that. Sometimes, you know, we got to spend an extra hour or two, or whatever it is, just to get things done, because return visits, they eat at you. Now, sometimes return visits are necessary. You know, you do a burnout compressor change out and you tell them, hey, I got to come back out and change the dryers again, or do an oil change or whatever. You know, sometimes they're necessary, but I've been trying to be better at taking care of things. Now, yes, it sucked. It was Sunday. And you know what? I could have been home. Actually, I could have gone to a party with my family because my family was at a birthday party. But I just got to get these calls done because that would have turned into a Monday thing. And I had a full day for myself and other techs today already planned. So we just got to get that stuff done. The customer's not really given a choice. It's just one of those things that, like, you know what, we got to get this stuff done. And I've been telling them about that lamp cord. There's a couple restaurants. There was 3 restaurants that have the lamp cord. I think 3, and I think I've fixed 2 of them. So I think there's still one more that has a lamp cord. And what I mean by lamp cord is it's the wrong style wire. It's just, it looks like literally like a lamp cord, and they just ran it not in conduit, you know, running through chases, and it just shorts out everywhere. So, you know, sometimes we just got to take the time and just get it done. You know, it's frustrating, but it happens. Do I do new construction, or do I only do PM and repairs? So Murica, typically I only do repairs and retrofit construction. I have done a little bit of new construction, building some restaurants and different things with general contractors, but to be honest with you, it usually ends up biting us in the butt. We've got burned quite a few times by general contractors or other contractors that we were subbing for. So we try not to do that very much anymore. And we pretty much only do retrofit construction on existing restaurants, like, you know, the walk-in cooler equipment all needs to be replaced. That's what I call construction. Or we need to change an air conditioner package unit on the roof. To me, that's what we call construction. So, but no, I don't do build-ups from ground up or anything like that. I don't do residential. So, all right, let's see what else we got going on in this chat. Let's see. You get irritated already watching my videos, seeing lamp cord. It makes you scream internally. Yeah, exactly. The lamp cord drives me nuts. And there's a bunch of reach-in coolers that he uses the lamp cord too. And it's just annoying. I actually know the contractor. I know who it was. I don't reveal contractors' names or anything. And I don't think he watches my videos, but if he does, he knows exactly what I'm talking about, because it's someone that I know very well. Let me see what else we got in here. Let's see, Jack, you said you're currently making a microsystem using a 12-volt compressor and fixed tube orifice after a filter dryer. You're using 134A. What would you use for a pressure control? You know, 134A with a pressure control is really hard because you're not going to find a pressure control very accurate enough to handle 134A at medium temperatures or low temperatures. So on a typical capillary tube system, if everything is designed right on a 134A system, you're probably going to run about, I'd say about a 10 to 15 back pressure. Okay. And if you're doing a low temp below 0, you're going to run in the negatives. Actually, you're going to run in a vacuum with 134A. So doing a pressure control is going to be really hard. You typically want to do a temperature controlled system. And I mean, you can have a pressure control, but it might shut off too early. So it can be kind of complicated. Let's see what else we got going in here. What's wrong with lamp cord? It's not the right kind of stuff. It doesn't have ground wires, and the technician before me was not running it in conduit. He was not putting chase nipples on there. He was not protecting the wires, so everything was shorting out. As far as the one that I did over the weekend on Sunday, surprisingly, it was actually 14 gauge lamp cord, so it was actually decent, but still, I ran all the condenser fan motors and all the electrical in conduit, 12 gauge wire, ran grounds to everything, did it all legit, and did it all right. So let me see what else. Let's see. Yeah, 1210 wire for lights or solenoids. Yeah, for sure. All right. What are some tips for new HVAC technicians in the trade? That's a good question. So let me see what else. So new technicians coming into the trade, one thing you need to understand is that we need you. We need your help, okay? But there's a lot that you guys have to learn, and you got to learn it in a short amount of time. Okay. Unfortunately, most companies are out there aren't giving you their full attention. They aren't spending a lot of time training you guys. So you got to do some work for yourself. You're not going to be handed everything. Okay. So what I would suggest you do is whenever you're working with someone, when you're on a roof, take pictures of all the equipment data tags. Even if you don't know what the equipment is, go home and research it. Print out the manuals, read them. Learn them, keep them in your van. Okay. Even if you're not working on it. So that way you're more familiar with the systems. When you're working with other service technicians, and you have to know when to open your mouth and ask questions and when to keep your mouth shut and just help. Okay. I can't tell you that exact thing, but you're going to have to figure it out, because there's a time when you're working with a senior technician and he's super busy and he's got his hands deep in something trying to figure it out. And you're over here asking him about 10 million questions. And while questions are great, there's a time and place for those questions. Okay. So you may want to bring it up to him like, hey, bud, I got a bunch of questions about this system. Can I ask them to you now? And he'll say, you know what? No, not right now. Ask me later. Okay, cool. But take lots of pictures and do lots of research when you go home. Just because you get off work, this is for the new technicians, just because you get off work at 4 or 5 doesn't mean your day's done. Your day's just starting, because you should be going back, going through your camera roll, pulling up those models and serial numbers, doing research, checking it out, figuring stuff out, figuring out how it works. So that way, you're more prepared. And then when you're for the newer guys, apprentices and stuff, when you're working with someone, what the best thing as an apprentice or as a helper or as a entry-level service technician for you to do is to know what your senior service technician needs before he needs it. Okay. And what I mean by that is you're doing a compressor replacement and he's brazing in the compressor. Where's the vacuum pump? Go get it before he even asks you for it. Okay. Is there anything he's done with? Take it down before he even tells you to take it down. It may seem like you're just a gopher, but you're actually learning because you're being prepared. This goes into the time management that I was talking about earlier. When you're a service technician, okay, I have to remember sometimes, like, I'm a fast-paced person. My wife jokes and my kids joke with me because my walk is their jog. Like, I genuinely walk like a freaking maniac. I don't even mean to be going crazy. Like, I have a fast walk, okay? So I'm boom, boom, boom. I'm all day long. And when I go home, I'm exhausted because I've just been pushing so hard through the day. But I try to be as efficient as possible, bringing stuff down, bringing stuff up, because at the end of the job, I don't want to have 2 hours of cleanup, if I could clean up a little bit at a time as I'm going. Okay. And trying to be prepared and trying to think way ahead. Let's say that we have a job that has 10 steps to get it done. When I'm doing step 1, I'm thinking all the way to step 10 while I'm still focusing on 1. I'm getting ready. So as I'm doing 1, I'm thinking, okay, how can step 1 make step 10 easier? Okay, if I do this first, or if I cut this first, then it's going to make the next step easier, and so forth, and everything flows together. Okay. Sometimes it happens that I'm working with other service technicians and I have to explain it to them because they ask me questions. They're like, hey, why don't we do it this way? And it totally flusters me, and it's okay. I don't mind the questions, but I have to stop and think. And I'm like, wait, okay, there's a reason in my head. My head's saying, no, don't do it that way. But I can't think of the reason right now. But I already figured out this whole job. So my head just works so differently. I don't know if any of you guys are like that in the chat, but my head, like, I really think way ahead. My wife was telling me today, she notices too that I'm very focused when I'm doing something. I just, boom, I tune everything out. Or if I can't tune everything out, I put headphones on or something, and I just focus on what I'm doing. So, all right, let me get to the chat and see what I'm missing in here. Never waste a trip to get anything. That is exactly right. So, let me see what else we got in here. Right. Yeah, never stop learning too, okay? I have been on cruise control lately, and I need to get my game back in it, okay? I need to get on it because I haven't been reading. I haven't been watching. I haven't been listening to podcasts, and I need to get back into that. I give myself a pass because we were going crazy over the summertime, and I really didn't have any spare time. But as we're coming into the fall right now, yeah, it's time, man. I really need to start getting back into the game. focusing on education. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have NATE, a NATE certification, and I think my NATE certification's up in October, and I don't have any continuing education hours. I'm going to have to forfeit my NATE basically and retake the test again. Unless they do something, they may give a pass or something like that, but I don't have any continuing education. I haven't done anything for 6 months, 7 months. So I need to get on it for sure. So Jack brought up the point that I should get a GoPro for videos. And a lot of people have brought that point up many times before, that I should be filming with my head or a chest mount or different things like that. And I'm going to tell you for the most part why I don't film with the GoPro. And that's because I get motion sickness and I can't edit the videos. Okay. The videos where I'm walking and moving and showing this and showing that, they make me sick and I can't do it. I just can't. So I'm more of a tripod person or a turn your phone on and hold it. Now, I personally use my phone. A lot of people ask me what I use to film. I just use my phone. Let me see. Good gosh. New emergency work order. What is this? Oh, geez. Yeah. Lovely. So after this live stream, I get to drive out an hour and a half for a walk-in cooler. Lovely. That's a fun one for sure. All right. Well, it is what it is. So I'm going to keep on going with this. But anyways, oh yeah, that's what I was saying. So I use my phone for editing or for filming my videos. Okay. It's a Galaxy S10 Plus. It does me well. It's done me very well for a long time. So let me see what else I'm missing in here. All right. So, a lot of questions I get is why do I not rebuild motors? Okay. So in my recent video, it keeps tripping the breaker. The AC keeps tripping the breaker. I had a motor that had bad bearings in it, and I had a lot of people push back on that one. And they're like, hey, why didn't you just rebuild the bearings? You could have saved the customer a bunch of money. Well, there's a lot that goes into that. You have to think about, as a business owner, customers don't like callbacks. Customers like things to be done, okay? So if I take that motor out and go have it rebuilt, that entire unit is down in the meantime, okay? If I try to get bearings, I've never changed bearings in a motor, but if I try to get bearings and I spend 6 hours on the roof getting the motor out, changing the bearings, putting it back together, and then we find out that there's other internal damage in the motor, all that time is wasted. So it's really about efficiency and money. It just comes down to the dollar. We got to get this done. We got to get it done fast. And motors, I mean, really, they're cheap. Okay. For the most part, when you think about a motor costing you $500, $600 for a 5 horsepower motor, $700 or whatever it is, that's not that bad when it comes to time and labor and where you got to go to get it, the parts, all that stuff. It's really not that bad. Most of the time, it's just cheaper and faster to get it replaced and knock it out. So, all right, let's see what else we got going on in here. Same thing goes with the why do that. What about changing compressors? In the recent video that I had where I said it sounded like it had rocks in it, people asked, why did you change the compressor? It was still pumping. It was still maintaining temperature. Why change it? Well, because I don't have time and I don't want it to become a Sunday night thing. But at the same time, I was forthcoming with the customer and I said, hey, this compressor is going bad. Sounds horrible. I don't know how long it'll last. It could last a day. It could last a month. Who knows? I gave them a quote and they said, replace it, get it done, because the customer doesn't like unexpected downtime either. They just want it done. Knock it out. All right. Let's see what else. See what else we got going on in here. Let's see. Yeah, I could go now and bring you guys with me. If it's something that I can live stream, I would, but it's an hour and a half away from me. So by the time I get there, it's going to be dark. But are restaurants where I'm at 75% or no? No, restaurants in Southern California in certain counties that have been allowed are only at 25% capacity right now. So they're not at full capacity and they're not allowed to be at full capacity. But the restaurants, what they've been doing is they still have outdoor patios and then they can fill up to 25% capacity in the restaurant. But it's not all restaurants. It's county dependent. So the counties that have higher COVID numbers, they don't get to open. The counties that have lower COVID numbers, they get to open. So the county that I live in, Riverside County, is allowed to open. Orange County is allowed to open. Certain counties are. So let's see what else we got in here. Where can you learn furnace? One thing you were never really taught. Well, I don't work on a lot of furnaces. I have a basic understanding and I understand the sequence of operation for most of them. I can usually look at a user's manual and a schematic, but anybody that's looking to learn more information, I highly suggest you go check out my buddy Brian Orr's website, hvacrschool.com. He has all sorts of cool stuff on his website, podcasts, write-ups, articles, videos. Go check out his website. You guys won't be sorry. So let me see what else we got in here. Do my customers use Corrigo to dispatch? Am I having issues with it? Jamie, I've been using Corrigo for many years now. In fact, the software that I use is actually owned by Corrigo for my invoicing software. I use Intuit Field Service Management, which is similar to Corrigo. It actually syncs wirelessly or seamlessly with Corrigo. So yes, I have a lot of customers, and I have another customer that's about to go to Corrigo. I really don't have problems with it per se. I've been lucky enough that it's been okay for me. So let me see what else we got in here. Yeah, exactly. Ernesto, I am on call all the time. Yeah, it is very difficult to find experienced service technicians right now. I really haven't been pushing really hard. I'm about to push right now. We're about to find another experienced service tech, but yeah, it's a struggle. It's killing me right now. These overtime calls. It's driving me nuts. Have I tried using input or output sine wave filters on over and failing frequency drives? No, I have not tried to really do any crazy stuff with the drives. I've had conversations with the drive manufacturers and the reps and distributors, basically, and they've told me that all these drives are being installed in the horrible environments, in compressor compartments, in evaporator compartments. They're saying these things aren't meant for this. But no, I have not tried to repair any of the drives. You know, it's just one of those things the customer typically doesn't want to pay. Most of the energy efficiency stuff out there, the customers, they don't want to pay to fix it. Most of the time, they want you to bypass it. Let me see what else we got. I've been getting a lot of non-HVAC people watching my videos, and that's great. I really think it's cool because I've been getting these cool emails from people saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to get into the trade because I watch these videos or whatever. That's really cool. It's inspiring to hear that kind of stuff. But at the same time, sometimes non-HVAC people, the criticism that they have, I don't get upset about it because, again, I'll make it clear right now, I'm 100% okay with criticism. I have no problem with people criticizing me. I have no problem with people telling me I'm wrong because I'm wrong all the time, guys. I'm not afraid to admit it, okay? I mean, the whole point of these videos is to show my mistakes, okay? But at the same time, some of the non-HVAC people don't quite understand the things that we go through as service technicians. For instance, worked a full day today. Get home, sit down, start a live stream, boom, service call. I haven't even eaten dinner. Like, I'm not going to eat dinner. When I get done with this stream, I'm going to put my work clothes on. I'm going to bounce out the door and go take care of this service call that's an hour and a half away from my house. So who knows what it's going to be. But that stuff happens more and more. And, you know, a lot of the non-HVAC people don't understand it. And hopefully as they watch more and more of my videos, they'll get it, you know. I get a lot of restaurant owners that watch these videos, and I understand their side of it, okay? Because they're small business and they're in it to make money, and they're frustrated because their particular contractor isn't as honest with them, or they feel like he's not honest with them. And that's something that you need to address with your contractor. You know, when it comes to this, don't assume that every HVAC service technician out there is out to get you, because they're not, okay? There's a lot of great service technicians. Don't get me wrong, there's some bad ones too, but there's a lot of good service technicians, okay? All right, let's see what else we got going on in here. Let me see. You've been an apprentice for 5 months and start on call next week. Good job, Pro C. That's awesome, bud. So that's how I do it with my apprentices too. In the past, was I would put them in an on-call rotation with me, and then they would slowly start taking calls with me. Sometimes I would give them a half-hour head start, hour head start, let them go and diagnose a little bit. Then I'll come in, you know, and help them out a little bit. But that's good when you start doing the on-call. It's really good for you. Is it more beneficial for a company to hire a new tech or pay a senior tech high dollar? Mr. Green, I've done both ways. I've had success both ways, and I've had failure both ways. So it really depends on the situation. Let me see what else we got in here. Do I have another one? Oh, okay, no. I just got a voicemail is all that it was. I was just making sure. Oh, that's just my kid's stupid school. My kid's school calls me 3 times a day to leave stupid, non-important voicemails on my phone. It's driving me nuts. I need to unsubscribe from it. It really is driving me nuts. All right, let's see. So as far as hiring an experienced tech or building from the ground up, it really depends, okay? You hire an experienced tech, unless you get a diamond in the rough, you're going to have someone that has habits that maybe don't line up with your company's vision. Okay, so those are some things that can be a criticism, but an experienced tech, you get a good one that's really good, and you're going to be able to let him go, and he's going to be able to take care of service calls. That's a big thing for a company owner, okay? For me to hire an apprentice right now, it's stressful because I told you guys I'm 4 weeks on right now, right? So if I hire an apprentice, what that means is I have to ride with that apprentice every day to make sure that he gets his 40 hours a week. Okay, so I have to commit to being with that guy every single day on top of the on-call schedule too. So it's a struggle either way, you know, but there's good and bad. I mean, this is the fun stuff of being a business owner is you got to deal with this, and it's a headache sometimes, but you know, again, I'm thankful to be able to do what I can do. So, let me see. Thanks for the True Tech tools. Yeah, I appreciate those of you guys that, if you don't already know, if you guys are considering purchasing any tools, go check out truetechtools.com. Use my offer code BIGPICTURE, one word. You can save 8% on your order. If you know what you're going to order, send me an email. I'll generate an affiliate link. It helps me out a little bit more. So you still save the same amount. Sportland has a webinar. My moderator bot should be posting it here in a minute. It's a continuation of the webinar that they had last week. I'm going to post it in the chat real quick for you guys. Intro to refrigeration. What is refrigeration? Part 2, basically. So, guys, definitely go check that out. And holy crap! Thank you so much for the super chats, guys. Whoa. Oh, okay. All right, cool. Let me see what else we got in here. What on earth is that thing on the board? Oh, the board behind me. So that is a smoke detector. It is essentially a duct detector or a smoke alarm like you have in your own home, but it's for package units and air conditioning units. So that is a trainer board that I had set up for my service technicians. If you look on my channel, just search duct detector on my YouTube channel, and there'll be like 3 different videos that I've shown that board, and like it's just to help people train and you know, learn how to use those things. So let me see what else we got in here. What side of the paycheck do I sign at the end of the week? Listen to the boss, pick up the phone, fix stuff, get paid. Oh, yeah, true. There you go. All right. And what on... Okay, so I already answered that one. Okay, I'm going to get to my list of things to talk about. So David had posted a comment, and it was actually a really good comment, David, and I'm going to address it a little bit. So David had posted a comment on my YouTube channel, and he was just talking about the efficiency and how much better scroll compressors are than recip compressors, okay? Semi-hermetic or recip, or I guess the semi-hermetic is a recip, but he was just saying how much better a scroll was. And there is truth that scroll compressors typically are more efficient than reciprocating compressors, for sure, okay? But scroll compressors have their own problems at the same time, okay? When you're dealing with the smaller systems that I deal with, just the medium temperature and low temperature refrigeration with a scroll compressor, the first thing I'm going to tell you right now is that scrolls don't like pumping down. Okay, we deal with pump down systems all the time in the restaurants and on walk-ins and different things like that. When the system goes to turn or to operate and then it satisfies, it pumps down, the liquid line solenoid valve closes, the compressor continues to run, the suction pressure gets lower and lower and lower, typically around 5 to 10 psi. Then the compressor turns off, and then when the solenoid valve opens back up, the suction pressure gets higher. The pressure control turns it back on. Well, on a scroll compressors don't like pumping down to 5 to 10 psi. Typically, they want to be around 15 psi. And what will actually happen is as they start to pump down, especially if they pump down past 10 psi, what you'll actually hear is the internal pressure relief in the scroll compressor actually open and kind of equalize out the pressures in a way. You'll kind of hear like almost like a blow-off valve, you know, and you'll see your suction pressure rise again real quick, okay? And then it turns back on. And then it turns off, and then it turns back on, and then it turns off. So we have a lot of short cycling issues. So much that Copeland actually came up with a service bulletin, and they send out a time delay relay with their scroll compressors, okay? So that way when they shut off, it's like a 90-second timer. It won't let it turn back on for another 90 seconds. It kind of calms things down a little bit because especially when those compressors were first being used on the refrigeration systems. You had a lot of compressor failures because of short cycling, people not setting the pressure controls right, and you just ran into problems. So scroll compressors, I will agree that they're more efficient for sure, but they have their own problems too, okay? And they can be frustrating, especially when you're trying to set pressure controls, and it's just a pain sometimes. All right. Let me see what else. So a lot of people have been noticing, and I joke and stuff in my videos and say that we have a lot of high temperatures out here in Southern California. So this summer we hit 121 degrees was our high outdoor ambient temperature. Okay, and that's last year was year before last. It was 120 degrees. That was a high at my house. It was crazy. But we don't have humidity here in California, and that's something I don't have to deal with for the most part. Like right now, I bet you it's probably 10% humidity outside. It's probably 30% humidity in my house. Okay. Realize that there's other places in the Midwest and stuff like that, and in the South that have crazy high temperatures and humidity, 100 degrees with 90% humidity. Like, oh my gosh, I would lose my mind. Okay. But what's interesting is the people that work in that crazy weather with the high humidity, they're kind of used to it. So they're kind of know how to prepare for it. Same thing with me. I work in 120 degrees on a regular, and it's no big thing to me. I wear long sleeve shirts. I wear a headscarf, keep the sun off my skin. It's just things that you prepare for. I've grown up in this trade. I've worked in it all my life. To hydrate and take care of your body. So I encourage all you guys to try to tear down the compressors like I did in this last video. Just take a grinder wheel, cut the compressor open. You'll learn a lot about compressors. You get to start pulling components apart, and you see what copper plating does, not pulling evacuations properly, why things happen. Definitely encourage you guys to pull compressors apart as much as possible, okay? Let me see what else we got in here. All right, well, you guys are going to get to see me take a phone call real quick live on the air, because a customer that wants me to come out and work on their walk-in cooler is calling me right now, so I'm going to call them back. Bear with me 1 second. Got to go through all these on-hold things to be able to talk to these customers. As far as the smoke goes, it's definitely impacting our condensers and stuff. It's definitely... Good gosh. Manager. They went automated. Manager. Come on. These automated things drive me nuts. Good gosh. I'm so sick of these automated calls. So for those that are just tuning in right now, I'm calling a customer right now for a service call. Good gosh. These stupid things. This customer's going crazy because... Come on. Okay, this is dumb. These stupid automated things are driving me crazy right now. Bear with me. Come on, come on. They don't give you an option to talk to a manager. Frustrating. Good gosh. So I'm on hold with the manager right now for those that are just tuning in, because I got a walk-in cooler that's down. Yeah, pressing 0 definitely helps. I usually scream at my phone operator. May I please speak with the manager? Please do. Yeah, thank you. Let me give you some on-hold music. They transferred me to a catering department. May I please speak with the manager? Chris with JVS. JVS, yeah, just tell him. Have I ever dealt with Karens? Yeah, I've dealt with Karens before. They drive me nuts. We joke about that all the time. Yeah. Everybody already figured out my stream name. I mean, my company name. I try not to make it completely blatantly thing, but I'm not too sweating it too much lately. Everybody's been figuring it out. Hey, it's Chris with JVS. Doing good. So what's going on? So this sounds like it's been down for a while then, huh? Okay, all right. Well, we'll get you on. I'll get heading out there. Yeah. Yeah, that shouldn't have anything to do with it, but okay. Well, I'll get out there and we'll get on the walk-in. So we'll get you figured out. What time are you guys closing tonight? What time are you closing? Okay, all right. I'll be out there in a bit. All right. Bye. Bye. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so they were just taking forever to answer that one. So, all right, let's see what else we got going on in here. Now, it's a walk-in cooler that's down, so I'll get to it in a bit. So, how come my customers haven't been doing preventative maintenance much? Okay, so the preventative maintenance issues, it's been kind of a frustrating thing because, you know, I go out to these customers and it's like, oh, this is bad, or, you know, it's dirty, or it's just like routine maintenance that causes a lot of these issues, okay? I try to give them the benefit of the doubt because of the COVID stuff. Basically, everybody is in a reactive mode, okay? So they're not doing preventative maintenance. They're just doing kind of reactive maintenance. So it breaks and then they say, hey, can you clean it while you're up there? That kind of stuff. It's frustrating, but, you know, it's just one of those things. You just kind of got to learn to deal with it. And they're just all trying to save as much money as they can. So it's a bummer. Can a walk-in freezer be used for cryotherapy? I'm sure if they get it cold enough, I'm sure. So has a package unit turned off on alarm when I stage down the unit? Yes and no, as in, what do you mean turned off on alarm? Like, I've set off duct detectors by powering down units before, and that set alarms off. As far as turned off on alarm, I don't know what you mean by that one. So, can I take you guys with me on the service call? If it's still daylight and it's something I can film, then sure, I would definitely try to go live if I can. So, let's see what else we got going on. Yeah, you know, yeah, I do get to eat free if I want to, but honestly, I don't accept free food from the restaurants. It's just, I used to all the time, and there's nothing wrong with it. Something I just haven't done in a long time. I just try not to. I'm so sick of the restaurant's food, and it's not that it's gross. I work in the restaurants every day. I don't want to eat that food. How is it? So Shane had asked a question. How is it that I can go so deep into my service calls? And he was like, you know, don't you have other service calls you got to get to during the day? Yes, I do. But at the same time, if I take shortcuts and I don't fix it properly while I'm there, then it's going to take me more time later on callbacks and different things like that. So to a certain extent, I try to give as much time to the customers as possible, so that way we don't have to go back and do return visits, because return visits are what kills me. You know, the follow-up visits, the return visits. I just got so much stuff planned that half the time you forget to go back, and it's just a pain in the butt. Bruce, thank you so very much for that super chat, bud. I really appreciate it. So his question is, have I ever heard of any mandates for UV lights or other equipment to be installed? You've been installing iWave systems for new Calgon. I haven't heard of any mandates. I've had some customers ask me to install different things like that. Like, I installed the iWave things for one of my customers. I'm not a big believer in any of those devices, and that's actually going to segue me into what I want to talk about next. But No, I haven't heard of any mandates. There's nobody mandating to use UVs or anything like that. And I'm going to give you my opinion. I'm not a genius when it comes to air quality or COVID or any of that stuff, but I'm a real firm believer in clean, fresh air. Okay, proper air filters, outdoor air, bring it into the building, do a lot of air exchanges. That's what I really think is going to be the solution for a lot of different people. I feel that in the future, as things go on, there's going to be more mandates for fresh air into the building, which means we're going to have to do all kinds of different things to the units to be able to condition that extra fresh air load being added to the building. Mike had actually asked me a question about opening economizers. He's in the Northwest and he works for a restaurant group. And he was kind of curious about opening up economizers to bring fresh air into the building, but he's concerned about the humidity and he's concerned about the outdoor ambience, okay? And that's a big thing. You know, most buildings aren't designed to bring in that much fresh air. They're usually designed to bring in 10 to 12% fresh air per unit or something like that for ventilation requirements. But if we start opening outdoor air dampers 100% and bringing in 100% outside air, you're going to have all kinds of issues, such as I've shown. In the summertime, you're going to have heavy wear and tear on your compressors. You're going to have high outdoor ambient temperatures. In the wintertime, or in some areas, you're going to have high humidity. So I feel like as new codes come out, they're going to require more fresh air, but then the building's going to be designed for that. So you're going to have bigger units that can handle the added load. If you have an old building, would I recommend opening up the economizers and bringing in a crap ton of fresh air? Not necessarily, because you have to be concerned about, you know, cooling and heating needs, you know, and you got to be very cautious about that. It's not just as simple as flipping a switch and calling it a day. You know, you're going to have a lot of issues. So, all right, let's see what else. Raphael asked a really good question. Why do I not use flush in the systems? And he thought flush was a requirement when doing burnout replacements on compressors, okay? So I've made a personal choice, and I've said this a few times now. In the past, I used to use flush and acid neutralizers and additives and different things like that. But I'd say for the last 4 or 5 years, I've kind of chosen not to use any added anything to the system, basically. Just purging with nitrogen when I'm brazing, flushing the system out with nitrogen. What I mean by just opening, cutting components, blowing the nasty crap out of the system, doing multiple dryer changes, and just pulling proper evacuations, okay? I'm not really adding any neutralizers or flushes or anything like that because I just don't like what they leave potentially in the system. Now, to be completely fair, HVACR Wiz, thank you so very much for that super chat. To be completely fair to all the manufacturers, the first part of my career, I used acid neutralizer, I used flush all the time, and I have no issues that I can really tell you for sure were caused by the flushes or the neutralizers, but I've just kind of chosen to not put things in systems that don't really come from the factory in them lately, okay? It was actually a podcast that I heard on Brian Orr's HVAC School podcast, and it was with John Pastorello, and just listening to them talk about, you know, what some of these additives are and what kind of chemicals are in them. They just don't sound like they're really good for being in our system. So, all right. And last question that I have on my list right here is why don't I spend more time? Okay. Someone had asked me if it would be a good idea, but I'm just kind of rephrasing this. Why don't I spend more time cleaning up compressors? Okay. Wiping them down, making sure that they're working properly. You know, I'm sorry, making sure that they're working properly. I mean, wiping them down, cleaning the dust off, cleaning the insides of the condensing units out. It just really depends, okay? You know, I try to clean them out as much as possible, but there's times that you're out in the desert and it's like, it's windy. You know, if I clean this condensing unit out today, it's going to be full of sand tomorrow. So why waste certain amounts of time? As far as like polishing a compressor, making it look shiny, I mean, if you're doing residential and you want to give the customer like the best bang for their buck, then sure, go for it, okay? But on the commercial side, nobody really cares if the compressor's all shiny and, you know, whatever. So, all right. Let me see. I know I missed a ton of stuff in the chat, so let's see what I got going on in here, see if there's any questions. Do I see recuperators in restaurant air ventilation? I'm assuming you mean like air scrubbers or maybe, I don't know what you mean by recuperators. Do you mean like enthalpy wheels and different things like that? Heat recovery? I don't see that kind of stuff very often. I've seen very few restaurants that have had heat recovery wheels and that kind of stuff. I think it'll definitely be something common in the future. But again, with all these added components, customers typically don't want to repair them when they fail. So, you know, sometimes they add all these energy codes and different things. Right now they're adding VFDs to all the units, to slow and speed up the blowers. But most of the time when they fail, the customers don't want to spend the money to fix it. So you end up bypassing it. And then, all that extra money they spent buying the unit just seems like a waste. So let's see what else. Is getting NATE certified worth it? You've heard mixed answers. Greg, any certification is better than no certification, okay? But I will tell you that NATE certification, it's great because to maintain your NATE certification means you have to continue your education. To continue education, you have to go to training classes and you have to prove that you went to the training classes. So as far as, John, thank you so very much for that super chat. I really appreciate it, okay, bud? So as far as doing any kind of a certification, sure, I agree. Any of them are better than nothing. Okay. Now you want to get into the politics of it and you look at how much NATE charges to re-up your certification, different things like that. Yeah, it's a bit kind of shady when you think about like, wait, I took this test, I have to continue my education and I have to pay every 3 years or 2 years. Like, it's questionable. I'll still maintain my NATE certification if I can. I'll probably just retake the test again. Just because I like having a certification. It keeps me on my toes and makes me maintain and continue my education, basically. So let me see what else we got. Why do I not take a strong stance against these liberal ideologists? Because I don't get involved in politics. I'm not smart enough for that. Could smoke from the fire set off duct smoke detectors? Yes, it definitely could. If they're pulling outside air in through the units and you have a very area that's very close to the fire and it pulls in smoke through the return air ducts or the outside air dampers, definitely could set off a smoke detector. And same thing down in the building. So yeah, I haven't had it happen yet, but it's definitely something that could happen for sure. Let me see what else. I should make everyone no. How long have I been doing big picture diagnosis? Big picture diagnosis is something that I've learned over the years. I don't know. It's just this thing where it's kind of funny, the whole big picture. I don't even know how I started saying that. But I just always try to take a step back. I've learned over the years that whenever I'm frustrated, whenever I got a lot of stuff going on and, I can't figure something out, when I finally did figure it out, for the most part, majority of the time, it was something so silly, So that was the whole idea of like, okay, just stop, cool off, take a step back and think about it for a minute. And then boom, okay, yeah, you know what? It was this. So just the whole take a step back and look at the big picture. That's where that kind of came from. Okay, just the idea of I made a lot of mistakes and I realized after, like, how could I have done this better? Oh, well, if I would have just stopped and thought about it for a minute, then I would have realized that this happened because this, and this, So, all right, let's see what else we got in here. Let's see. What do I think about hot gas reheat dehumidifying rooftop units to allow for free cooling economizers? It's a great idea, okay? But at the same time, if you're going to do more outside air, you need to oversize your equipment, and your equipment needs to be set up for longer run times and or be much bigger. Okay. So with that being said, in California, we have a huge energy crisis. We don't have enough power. We don't, because of a lot of different reasons. Okay. We're not going to get into that, but we don't have a lot of power. So we put bigger equipment on every roof so that way it can maintain and bring fresh air into the building better and clean the air. It's negligible. Is that going to create more issues with, pollution and different stuff like that? It's I don't know. You got to find that happy medium. So I wouldn't be surprised though if they don't make that stuff energy mandates. Can the super dusty lint ducts be a fire hazard? You see them in my videos and want to clean them. I wouldn't say that the ductwork per se is a fire hazard. For the most part, there shouldn't be anything that would ignite those ducts. Unless your heat exchangers are covered in grease and different things like that, for sure. Okay, kitchen air conditioners, a lot of times in these restaurants that don't have proper hood systems or the hood systems aren't working as good as possible, yeah, the kitchen air conditioners get full of grease. So yeah, I guess it's a fire hazard in a way, but it's not going to spontaneously combust unless it's all over the heating components and it goes to ignite and then there's a fire that way, which I have shut stuff off before. So is it bad to pull a vacuum to 58 microns? I don't know that I've ever pulled a vacuum to 58 microns, but I do know that there's some science out there that says there's a certain point at which you start to like vaporize the oil or something. I don't know what that number is, so I don't know. prep table is shocking the cook. Any tip to speed up the process checking for direct shorts? Yeah, that's a really easy one. Go fix the ground on the plug. If a prep table is shocking the cooks, the first thing you want to ask them is, does it only shock them when they touch another unit? If it only shocks them when they touch another unit, you more than likely have a grounding issue. And what's happening, this is a very common thing in my restaurants, is the cooks are becoming the ground and they're getting a tingle. You know, the other thing is when they run over the cord, just look for exposed wires. If it has a pan chiller up in the top, make sure the fan motor's not sitting in water, that kind of stuff. But for the most part, if the cooks are getting shocked and the reach-in's not tripping the breaker, you really need to investigate the ground. All right. Let me see. Don't play with the big Chingas dial-a Chingas. The dial-a-charge in the background right there. I don't know if that's what you mean. I've never used that thing, so... let me see what else. What type of solder is used for brazing the king valve you saw in my last video? It's a dissimilar metal going from steel to copper. So I was using 56% silver solder. So I only use 3 types of solder. I'm using the tin type solder if I'm doing plumbing work. Okay. If I'm doing copper to copper brazing, I'm using 15% silphos. And then if I'm doing dissimilar metals, brass, steel, copper, I'm using 56% silver solder. That's what I've always done. And I just really like those fillers. Can too much bypassing cause compressor damage? Don't know what you mean by bypassing, John Deere fan. Let me see what else we got going on here. Are there any better options aside from California supporting over tax-paying citizens? I don't know, bud. All right. What else we got here? I really appreciate the support, HVACR Plus assessments, by going to TrueTech Tools. Thank you very much, bud. Can I put a VFD on a regular electric motor? You was told it had to be a certain type of motor. I've been told, too, that it does have to be a certain type of motor, so you don't want to be putting those things on stuff that it's not supposed to. Let me see what else. I'm not smart enough to tell you exactly. But it might have something to do with ball bearings, and the motor has to be rated for an inverter too, so that way it doesn't overheat. Thanks so much for that super chat, bud. At what point does a Chingas become a Chingas? You know, Chingas is a funny word. I have a bunch of different crutch words that I use, but if I ever can't remember what something's called, it's just a Chingas. So it's at this exact moment, if I can't remember the name, I just call it a Chingas. So... what is common cause of compressor damage? Common cause of compressor damage, I would have to say most of the time, is going to be... that's a good question. I think the most common answer that someone would give you for common causes of compressor failure would be like valve damage from flooding back. But I'll be honest with you, in my area, the most common compressor issues would have to be overheat issues. Okay, so condenser fan motor failing, pressure control set too high, compressor going off on thermal overload, that kind of stuff. And then over and over and over again, that causes issues with the oil, which causes burnouts and different stuff like that. So in my area, it's overheat issues, overheating of the oil, that kind of stuff. It's not that often that I see slugging due to liquid flood back on compressors. So can I put a VFD on a regular electric motor? No, I wouldn't suggest doing that, bud. All right, let's see what else we got in here. Yeah, the bearing has to be grounded. You have to use those, what do they call them? Shielded? No. I can't remember what they call them. They have special things for VFDs for grounding the bearings, for sure. I can't think of what they're called right now. Yeah, anyways. Tommy, thank you so very much for that super chat, bud. I really appreciate it. What do I think would help the younger generation like yourself to get into the trade, especially the service side? Do lots of reading, bud. Do lots of reading, and you have to understand, though, is you're going to have to bust your butt. I mean, look, I told you guys, I worked all day. I came home, sat down to do the live stream, and I'm about to go do a walk-in cooler call. I don't know how long it's going to take. You have to be ready for that kind of stuff. And on top of that, I can't do half-ass stuff. I have to be in the game. I have to make sure I'm doing it right, have to get it done properly. So I'm going to spend the time to make sure it's correct. Do I own my own heat load calculations when changing equipment for new? Yeah, when I do, like for instance, I'm doing a quote for a customer right now for some new walk-in cooler equipment. And yes, I did do my own heat load calculation, but I used a software. So I used Rustbox, which is by Russell Refrigeration. And I just input all the specs, make sure that the conditions that I want are in there. I usually pick the closest Air Force base to me that if it's within the temperature climate that I'm in. So for me, I have March Air Force Base. So I'll usually use them because they typically have better temperature readings than a lot of the other places. and just make sure that I set my load and the, you know, the product in and out of the box correctly, and then kind of look and design the equipment accordingly. So yes, I do my own heat load calculations. So let's see, let's end this done, Chris. I have life too. Yep. It is definitely time to wrap it up. I really appreciate you guys coming in here. Thank you so very much for the support. You guys are awesome. I am going to go do a service call right now. If I get the opportunity, I don't think I will because I think it'll be dark, but I'll definitely go live if I can. But again, any questions that I didn't get to, guys, please send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. And let me see what I got going on here. I'm going to go ahead and cue up the outro music. And again, I really appreciate you guys. Definitely check out the HVAC Overtime show Friday evenings. Go check out the HVAC Overtime channel. One of the moderators can probably post the link to the channel in there. I will not be there this week, but I'm sure they'll have a great show going on. Okay. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.